influence in the world economy. The think tank that I now head, the Australia-China Relations Institute, has recently produced a summary that highlights Australia's economic engagement with China. The annual value of Australia's goods and services exports to China is now 2.1 times more than that to our second largest customer, namely Japan. In June this year, on an annualised basis, our goods exports to China reached $100 billion for the first time. Our calculations are that even with the cooling in commodity prices, that China is going to remain as important as this to the Australian economy. Just think of one figure, and I know that speeches about China always result in an avalanche of statistics, but just think of one. If the calculations of the Chinese leadership are right, by the year 2030, China will have a middle class, defined in World Bank terms, with 860 million more people in it than are in the Chinese middle class at the present time. Now, that is an extraordinary market for Australian produce and for Australian services. 860 million more Chinese enjoying middle-class living standards by the year 2030. Think of the products in Chinese supermarkets that this class, this vastly enlarged class, 15 years from now, will be purchasing. And think of the appetite for tourism in Australia, for Australian education services, and for a vast range of other services as we Australians see it. Planes between our capital cities and the great cities of China are likely to be full of Australian architects, planners, environmental consultants, lawyers, financial advisors, going to sell Australian services into a huge internationalised Chinese market. And likewise, Chinese business people, as well as tourists and students, filling planes, flying into Australia's cities. This is an underpinning of both countries' continuing prosperity.